The mathematics of the prisoner's dilemma. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton have just been arrested on charges of libel against the third-party candidate Gary Johnson. However, the FBI wants to interrogate them before further charges are pressed. Although Trump and Clinton work together in the crime, they only want to answer questions in their own best interest. The two are put in separate interrogation rooms with no way to communicate with each other. Before we go any further, let's learn a quick history of how the prisoner's dilemma was created. The prisoner's dilemma was created by employees Melvin Drescher and Merrill Flood of the Rand Corporation after World War II. The Rand Corporation was a private Air Force company designed to investigate the possibility of intercontinental nuclear warfare. To make a model as an example of two countries debating over nuclear war, Flood used a model similar to a used car sale, which became the forefather of the prisoner's dilemma. Let's say that you are the lawyer for Clinton or Trump. You decide. Your goal is to show your client their best course of action during their interrogation. However, it is up to your client to make the final decision. The FBI interrogator gives Trump and Clinton two options. They can sell out the other or choose to cooperate by not talking. If both sell out each other, then they each have a 4-year prison sentence. If they both cooperate, then they each have a 2-year prison sentence. If one sells out the other, but their partner in crime cooperates, then the person who sold out the other gets off scot-free, while the person who cooperated gets a 5-year prison sentence. Here's a table of the results we have. Now that you have the outcomes of the decisions, you deliver them to your client. If you were representing Hillary, then you can see what she is reasoning about in her mind. Hillary is evaluating her two best outcomes. The best outcomes are determined by the least amount of years in the final prison sentence. Hillary is weighing her two best outcomes based on what Trump's decision will be, whether it is sell out or cooperate. Along with Hillary, Trump is also weighing the outcomes. Trump can see that selling out could be beneficial, but also detrimental. He is also viewing the best possible outcome for both of them. By analyzing the best outcome for the both of them, Trump will be able to make a better decision. Before we go back to look at the best outcomes for Trump and Clinton, we need to first understand game theory. Game theory is the study of mathematical models of conflict and cooperation between intelligent, rational decision makers. Game theory is used in fields such as economics and psychology, but is still a fundamental branch of mathematics. For example, the graph that we made in the beginning showing all of the possible outcomes is a perfect example of game theory, because it shows all of the outcomes based on each person's decisions. Now we can use game theory to solve the dilemma. Okay, now we can see how Trump and Clinton's rationales will play out. If they both sell out each other, then they both go to prison for 4 years. This puts a doubt in Trump and Clinton's heads about selling out. Next, let's see what happens when Clinton sells out but Trump cooperates. If Clinton sells out, she gets to go free, while Trump is hit with 5 years in prison. This is a win for Clinton. The same concept applies for when Trump sells out and Clinton cooperates. Finally, when the two both cooperate, they get 2 years in prison each, which is the shortest prison sentence in terms of years shared between the two. Now that we've used game theory to do the math of the dilemma, we need to solve it using basic logic. Think in the point of view of your client, Clinton or Trump. If they think the other person will cooperate, then it is much better to sell out, since going free is better than spending 5 years in prison. If you think the other person will sell out, then it is still better to sell out, because if you don't, then you have to serve the longest prison sentence of 5 years. Therefore, no matter which way you cut it, there is still a more beneficial reason to sell out instead of cooperate. It's time to decide for Trump. He sells out, like expected, because he thinks Clinton will cooperate. He'd rather go home free than spend 2 years in prison. It's now Clinton's turn to decide. Like we predicted, Clinton sold out too. She knows Trump would sell her out immediately, so she is forced to sell Trump out. She has to, because she wants the least amount of prison time. So there we have it. Since Trump and Clinton both sold each other out, they'll be behind bars for 4 years each. Maybe then they'll run for president again. Let's recap what we learned. When faced with non-cooperative decisions between two questionably intelligent individuals, the math of game theory mandates that their rational decisions will never allow either of the individuals to get their best interests. Just remember that the next time you are put in a similar situation to the prisoner's dilemma, no one can truly win.
Created using Powtoon.